To his credit, last month Donald Trump got Netanyahu to apologize for his strikes in Doha. Now, if you forgot, those strikes were essentially on this building that housed low-level Hamas peace negotiators working on their response to one of Trump's peace plans, right? They did not kill any high-level Hamas members. They killed many Qatari staff. They did not notify Americans. And it did, of course, bombing the sovereign property of the mediator with which you intend to do a peace deal through is the best example of bad faith I could possibly dream up. But Netanyahu could apologize, unlike his digital aide, right? This guy was pressed on Piers Morgan, right? These strikes were a failure. They didn't work. Illegal. What do you say to that? And he cannot apologize. It's a really interesting conversation. Here's the clip.
A calamitously bad decision. And it failed. You know, no Hamas commanders were killed. A Qatari security guy was killed. Other people totally unconnected were killed. I mean, do you concede now that this whole thing was a complete fiasco and should never have happened?
Do I need to remind our viewers on the 7th of October how we saw the leaders of Hamas that, by the way, enjoyed their
No, you don't need to remind anyone of that. I've just said it was everything that happened on October the 7th was disgusting. But how do you defend attacking in Doha a group of people who are literally sitting down to negotiate a peace plan? What message does that send to the world about Israel's commitment to actually wanting peace? I didn't understand it then. I don't understand it now. We've now got an apology from your prime minister, your boss. Fine, but why did he do it?
Let's stop it right there for a second. This is the hilarious Israeli logic. Israel's criteria for making peace with the enemy, according to this guy, right, the digital aide, not only do they have to be thoroughly enamored with the state of Israel, like in love with the people that occupy them, but they also have to be innocent. Let's listen to this guy's response, though. Piers kind of cut him off, as he usually does. Maybe he has an answer to why Netanyahu did this to begin with, given how stupid it was and how bad the intelligence was, right? They didn't even get the intelligence part right. If you can count on Israel for anything, it's probably intelligence. Let's see.
Well, first of all, I have to say it's totally okay to have different opinions. But I have to say, in my opinion, Hamas cannot be trusted to have peace. It needs to be enforced on Hamas, because we all know very well what the Hamas charter says. They will never tolerate an Israeli state next to them. They don't want a state next to Israel. They don't want anything that has the word Israel or Jew in it.
All right, I have to stop it there again. I can't let this guy talk for too long. Apparently, Israel's method of imposing peace upon people is stopping peace. It's killing them. But about the Hamas charter, right? No, Hamas's deal has always been 1967 borders, right? In their 2017 charter, they embrace the idea of a referendum. The Palestinian people overwhelmingly support a two-state solution versus a one-state solution that is listed in Hamas's internal politics and also in their 1988 charter. So they delegate the responsibility of which peace solution the Palestinian people want to the Palestinians themselves. And you can look at polling to answer your question as to whether or not the Palestinians would want a one-state solution and expel all the Jews, right? Palestinian charter, for what it's worth, it does have anti-Semitic things in it, religious stories that I think come across as, anti-Semitic hatred towards Jews. But it does say that it would not kick Jews out. It would essentially establish somewhat of a religious apartheid, like Jews had to live in for most of history in the Arab states. But that was, for the most part, actually preferential compared to what the Jews got in Europe. But that's just a bunch of factual inaccuracies there. And nonsensical, by the way. You're negotiating peace with someone, and your excuse for attacking them is that they can't be trusted to negotiate peace. It's like, where have I ever heard anything so ironic?
Their charter says it very clearly that they wish to destroy Israel and build an Islamist state on top of that. So, quite frankly, we're not happy about those wishes, as you would as well, or any Briton that would hear something like that. If you had a neighbor that said, "Hey, I wish to kick you out of your home and actually kill everybody," and build an Islamic State on top of that. So quite frankly, we're not going to let that happen. So Israel has every right to do what it has to do in order to safeguard our future. And look, some people are not going to like what Israel is doing. That's okay. I have to say that, and that's not directed to you, but the people that stayed silent when we were under attack, and then later all of a sudden woke up when we are defending ourselves. So I advise them to keep and be silent when we do what is necessary to bring our hostages back. And trust me, the way I see it, Israel is doing everything in its power to bring the hostages back. And
really, I disagree with that. I think if any European nation, or quite frankly, even like America, right? If any of them were running the decisions of Israel, like all these negotiations, the hostages would have been back very much well before this timeline, right? Because most European nations actually drop America on that one, are able to recognize Palestinian sovereignty along the basis of a 1967 type solution, and that is Hamas's golden kind of deal. If you give them that, you will get the hostages back very quickly, right? That is that. Not only that, but they will demilitarize. There's a 2-in-1, right? If you look at any of their negotiations, anyone saying otherwise is lying. So it's not rocket science. It's racism. It's you thinking this one group of people is unable to govern themselves. Even just laying out a framework for allowing their self-governance would dramatically help the peace process, but no. None of that is happening. The Knesset votes on these radical proposals, radical memos, de facto annexing the West Bank, separating the West Bank, declaring it the lawful religious land of Israel. All these crazy Knesset rulings is the opposite of what you need for peace. So you are the ones who need to have peace imposed upon you, because when you look at the Palestinian populace, 60% of them are in favor of a two-state solution along the 1967 borders. That is not only a plurality, but also a majority, right? Hamas was elected on a plurality. Many Palestinian opinions operate on plurality because they're quite diverse. But if you ask Israeli Jews what their thoughts on the 1967 borders would look like, they would look at you like you're speaking Chinese. They don't understand the question. It's probably 0% in Israeli Jews. 100% of Israeli Arabs, pretty much. But the Israeli Jews, even when you ask them about a two-state solution that isn't along 1967 borders, their response rate is they say yes 20% of the time. So that would be like Trump's deal of the century, very Israel biased. Even then, they don't want it. So who's stopping peace here? Who's more in the wrong in international law every single day of this conflict? Probably Israel, besides the hostages. But this guy's, I don't know what's tying this guy's tongue, right? His boss was able to apologize. It was stupid. It was malinformed. It was contrary to the peace process. Clearly, you don't need me to tell you that. And he's unwilling to say that. It's like hard-coded like Douglas Murray. Every time you talk about, or Ben Shapiro, you cannot talk about anything before you talk about October 7th. Even though October 7th is only understood as a reaction instead of a catalyst, right? Saying October 7th is a catalyst is just nonsensical, and that's what all these people want to do. It's just actually basic, human reaction. Basic human reaction to a very extreme state that's getting more extreme with young Israelis supporting religious Zionism, Netanyahu's party, up to 75% of them. So it's just the only thing that they can do, right? And this idea that Hamas, these peace negotiators in Hamas are all just clamoring to murder Jews. Maybe it's true, but you can't prove that, right? If you think about it, Hamas kind of has a monopoly on what Palestinians, if Palestinians want to get politically involved in the peace process or Palestinian advocacy, they want to join the biggest group in Gaza, right, that recognizes the Palestinians suffering. Their only choice is Hamas, right? They're not going to join the Palestinian Authority. They all think the PA is a dog of Israel. Hamas is their only choice as far as a a group that is actually in like semi-sovereign or used to be, or kind of has the monopoly of force besides the IDF in Gaza right now, to the extent that we can even know such a thing.